Hello YouTubies, I'm Grant. I like customizing stuff. You've clicked this video for some inspiration on modifications you can do to your own car, or you want to see what some bloke has been doing to his car in his garage, his poor old 986, or you're one of my very supportive friends and family. Hello Mum. Or you might be a mixture of all of those things. We're going to run through what we've done in terms of performance modifications, cosmetic modifications, and general comfort, livability, improving customizations to help bring a 20-year-old car into 2024 with some sort of additional functions and modifications of that nature. Stick around, we're going to run you through what the list of it is, collect it all together, and one little secret on all of this, absolutely everything I've done could be 100% reversible. Stick around.
So before we get fully into it, if you haven't worked out already, I am still an 8-year-old boy at heart. You can see from the lights on the car particularly that I was probably influenced when I was younger by the Fast and Furious films, but it was one of those things that got me into the idea of customizing cars, making them your own. It was one of the things I always promised myself I'd do on a car at some point in my life, and this car seemed relatively appropriate. There are various things that the internet will not like, and people will tell you about cars, that your car, that they don't fancy, they don't like themselves. Big believer, big advocate for it's your car, you do what makes you happy, you're expressing yourself, you're doing what you like. So without further ado, we'll get into the video and run through everything that we've done. Not really sure if it counts as a mod, but one of the best things you can spend money on for your car is the tyres. I've got the Michelin Pilot Sport 2s, was recommended these. I always ran Pretenders previously because that's what came with the car when I got it. Got recommended these, very, very happy with them, very grippy, gives me a lot of faith in the car and a lot of trust. A popular free thing to do to these cars is to de-snorkel them. I can't show you this because it's an item missing ultimately, but it comes out of that vent there. You pull it out, you get better sound. Some people argue you get a little bit more power. Negligible. Also running a freer flowing K&N air filter, and wanted to show you what I'm using as spark plugs. Now these are absolutely no one's ever spoke about them or heard about them before. I came across them quite by accident, agreed with the logic, so I'd give them a go. I'm using these Polestar plasma core spark plugs. Price, they're pretty different to what you'd pay for sort of iridium plugs, things like that anyway. Arguably there are race teams who use these and stuff. Arguably they will give you more power. I can't say that it's noticeable, but what I can say I did notice, having 6 of them in there, is a better throttle response. So have a look for them if you're interested. The logic of how they work and what they do sat well with me. I thought I'd give them a go. Thought the throttle response was better. It might have been a placebo, but pretty happy with them nonetheless.
Excusing some of the muck under here, I've got freer flowing exhaust headers or exhaust manifolds, depending what you want to call them. And what a lot of people consider the dreaded drone box exhaust muffler. I like the sound of this. I think it makes the car sound great, lets it roar a little bit more. And considering we've done the air filter, the snorkel seems sensible to make the exhaust a little bit noisier too.
Now, as I'll show you in some upcoming videos, I just wanted to point out that everything I'm showing you here, I have done myself in a garage without anything particularly specialist and without any training or prior knowledge or anything like that. So give it a go. They're good cars to work on. And the only thing you're going to see is the wheels that are black. I didn't paint them myself. That's it. So the car is on BC Racing coilovers, all 4 corners. This is one of the favourite things I've ever done to the car, but it was also one of the absolute worst jobs to try and do in a have-a-go-yourself kind of fashion. These are excellent. I can't recommend them enough. If you want to enhance what this car is already good at to make it excellent and completely change the ride, particularly if you've had yours for a couple of years and you want to just make it feel a bit more firm or a bit spicier, a little bit more responsive, I can highly recommend these. But maybe get a mate to help you put them in, because a second pair of hands, if anything, would have been extremely useful. Highly recommend these, not endorsed by any of the companies we're mentioning or any of the products today, just personally recommending them. Some of the best money I've ever spent on this car. Just another point on cosmetics here. I did paint the brake calipers yellow, the theme of the car. Blue obviously being the main colour with the accents of black with like the lights, the spoiler, the rear lights, that is, the spoiler, the wheels, but then with hints of yellow. This is a particular yellow I was very fond of. Could probably use a touch up and a redo. It's been done for a fair few years now. And the spacers, we're doing 15mm at the back, 7 at the front. This was recommended for this car. Lets the wheels feel the arches a little bit more. arguably gives it like better stance and things like that. I wouldn't say that's anything you notice. I've done it purely for what it looks like. But if you're going to do it, don't forget to get longer studs. For just a little bit of customization at the front, I've gone for an off-center square number plate. I don't like the plastic bracket that these cars come with as stock because it sort of ruins the lines of the front of the car, and I'm also quite a fan of not having fully symmetrical elements on a car, sort of inspired by these off-centered sort of external oil coolers in like the JDM scene. This bracket I made using an old spare towing hook screw, cut the hook off the top, used the screw, welded a bit of metal to that screw to then mount the plate on, and it sits off onto the left hand side as if you're looking at the car from the front. Two cosmetic customizations at the back of the car. We've got the spoiler and we've got these aftermarket lights. I opted for the black darker ones. It goes with the theme of the car. I think they look really nice on a darker car typically. Some function in them in that they're LED, so you don't really need to ever swap out any bulbs, and then you get these nice sweepy boy indicators, which I'll show you, but ignore, and I mean ignore, the garage spec safety crocs. Nice sweepy boy indicators, modern touch. I think it makes the car look very nice. And I like watching it from the back when I lock it and see them flashing. Totally reversible like everything else. They just plug and play. Takes about 5 minutes to install them ultimately. And then we come on to the spoiler. A bit of a funny story with this one. I had that spoiler on a project car years ago, and it was sitting up on the shelf up until my niece visited actually, and she suggested we line it up. I thought actually that looks pretty cool. Again, big fan of always doing what I want to my car. Everyone should do the same, do what pleases you. Fully expect that it provides absolutely no function, but I absolutely love the look of it, and did it in a reversible fashion, which will surprise everybody. Yes, there are holes drilled in the lid. However, that was a spare lid. I bought that for only £12.85 plus the postage, with a view of I didn't want to drill holes in the actual lid I had just in case I didn't like it. Drilled it in, fitted it, loved it, so then decided to go and get that spare lid painted, and now I can easily swap between the two and have the spoiler or no spoiler. Something that I've done though for doing that is I've disabled this spoiler, which is the one that comes with the car. Tends to come up, I think, about 70 miles an hour, goes back down when you're doing under 50. Didn't want that coming up as well, so I've disabled that. I'm going to make a video on that specifically because I've managed to disable that spoiler without having any error messages coming up on the dash when you start the car, or indeed when you get to like 70 miles an hour, and it would deploy because the car gets pretty upset otherwise. So coming to the inside, there are three things I want to show you. These really fall within the bringing it up to date sort of category and make the car easier to live with or better to live with, however you want to look at describing that. The first thing I'm pointing out right here is the head unit. Now in the facelift 986s, swapping out the head unit for a more modern one is not as straightforward as you would hope. They have a most fibre optic system in them that you have to get an adapter for. I'm going to make a video going through how and what you should go for, how you go about putting that in for other people that have been asking. I did have a single screen flip up, singled in head unit for a while, which I ran as a little bit of like an experiment, like can I get it to work before I bother spending anything decent on a decent head unit. And once I decided that it was going to work, I actually went for and found a unit, this Pioneer unit here, that was quite unique because it has an integrated phone holder. One of the issues I found with the flip-up screen stereo or head unit was that as it was using my tethering internet from my phone, using my phone's internet for things like the sat-nav, if it disconnected while I was on a long drive, as it often would, it would then have a bit of a wobble and not really come on. And I realised I wanted the flip-up screen to basically mirror things that my phone could already do. This head unit is kind of two birds in one stone for that, and it also eradicates the need to have any other additional phone holder in the car. You simply place your phone in here, it rotates so you can have vertical or horizontal, and if you don't need it, you pop off, he says, the face unit, and you slide that bad boy in there. And it absolutely disappears, and it just crack on. It's very stock looking. I do like being I like customizing things.
that you can change the sort of the colours on the display here, and there's actually a very good Pioneer app, not endorsed by any of these companies as I've already mentioned, but this is something I highly recommend. And for a super stealth install that I'm super proud of, forgive the light, this here is the microphone built into one of the spare buttons, just here, in a way that hopefully you can't kind of notice it too badly. I've got the light down there for a reason, I'll come to that. Ultimately very happy with that unit. A lot of people will be able to have a bit more flexibility who have got the digital controls for the climate, because you can move them further down, but I'm going to come to having done my own console delete. Funny story, I had one of these cars for 5 years before I realised there were 2 cup holders. Even with the phone in there, check this out. Wouldn't really be able to put a drink there with a phone there, but when you pull out to, and you, as if you were going to use the second one, you can put your drink in there and you've still got your phone showing your sat nav where to go. 5 years I had one of these before I realised there were 2 cup holders in there. The next thing to draw your attention to in here is a homemade console delete. Now this is a very expensive piece that you can buy from Porsche if you want to remove here. This area here, a lot of the taller guys will do that for, or taller people I should say, will do that for extra leg room. Mine had in here the famous 4 or 5 CD tray. I'll pop a picture of it removed up in a second.
CDs, ham and cheese.
Ultimately the salami holder, as I've realised it's affectionately called, in a spare tray. I realised my leg rested on the console that was sort of there previously all the time. Decided, right, well, I don't want to pay £500 for a piece when it's like I can actually probably make something myself. So this is a homemade GT3 style, if you like, sort of centre console delete. There are 3 pieces to it which I have changed over time. There's a piece here, and I'll go through a video, mate, showing how I made these. That ultimately is plastic squarish drain pipe wrapped in carpet. This here is just metal bent into the shape and then secured in the same places as the sort of original fittings that would have been here. And this is another piece of similar plastic because I decided to mount the button for the underbody lights in here, as you've seen. This brings us nicely to the last sort of livability mod, if you like. And it's this wire hanging down here, which normally just tucks up in there. I've got it out to show you guys what it is. And this is a quick connector for the battery tender. So this runs up through a rubber plug in the firewall, which is easily replaceable, is directly connected to the battery. This allows me to charge the car when I'm not using it, like, you know, if I know I'm not going to be driving it for a couple of weeks or something like that, as sometimes does happen. Trickle charge the car whilst also being able to lock it. Now, I leave the charger on the outside, run the wire in over the window and charge it. It wouldn't be as suitable for people who are have their cars outside, but if you wanted to fashion a way to have the charger inside the car, I don't know about particular fire hazards, don't make me liable for any of this. But this for me was just a way that then I can lock the car. And in the worst case scenario with these cars, as I mentioned in the last video, there is this electric switch for you to be able to open the bonnet under which the battery is. If you were to let the battery die, you can't use that button. A little bit of a design flaw, and you need to use the jump point that is in there that we pointed out in the last video. I don't need to worry too much about doing any of that. I can literally just connect the trickle charger, leave it for a bit, and then we'll be able to open it even if the battery's completely dead. I have a way of charging my battery without opening the bonnet. A lot of people recommend different chargers online. I use an AA one. It cost me about 25 quid, does a great job, comes with the 2 connections, one with the crocodile clips and one with this. I just use that. It's absolutely brilliant, can't fault it. In terms of an interior cosmetic mod, I have yellow seat belts. These are not the very expensive ones from Porsche. This was a yellow that I matched to as close as I could to the yellow caliper paint because I wanted that little bit of a continuity. That's actually the same paint that is on the switch, as you can see down there, for the underbody lights. Sorry, the cover for the switch. Now, I made the most of what was happening during COVID. Wasn't able to drive the car for a good couple of months, so I thought, well, this would be a good time. Take the seatbelts out, send them off to be re-webbed. Can give you links to this if people are interested enough. It cost me ultimately about £25 a belt, and about a week they were away. Obviously the car not usable for that week, couldn't use it during COVID anyway, made sense, absolutely chuffed to bits with those. It's one of the things I think when you move from black seat belts to a light colour like yellow, you realise actually these things do get grubby. How many of you actually clean your seat belts, I wonder?
As you've already seen, the car does have underbody lights, which I don't mind admitting is one of my favourite things I've done to it. And they run off
this little switch on the inside. It was one hell of a job not being at all qualified or knowing what I'm doing with these switches to get it to light up when the keys were in the car only and be powered then. And it's under this little cover, which is inspired by my love for the Lamborghini Aventador, frankly, painted the same colour as the calipers. So that's everything I think I've done to the car. I may have missed some bits off. Keen to hear what you think. Keen to hear what you think I should do next. I've got a feeling it might be the short shifter. Been recommended that plenty of times. And yeah, if anyone else has got a customised Boxster particularly, let's see them. The next few videos I'm planning to run you through how I've done a number of these things, how to do them yourselves, how to service the car, that sort of stuff. Let us know if there's anything you'd particularly like me to cover, particularly if it was in this video. Give us a like, a subscribe, a share. You can follow us at Granty's Garage on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next one.